Joining us right now is U.S. Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema from Arizona's 9th District. Ms. Sinema, you've been on top of this, and needless to say, I get a sense that you're outraged to the point that I think you've gotten where a lot of other people were. Where this place appears to be rotten to the core. Am I being too bombastic with that?
Well, let's be realistic and recognize that there probably are some good people who are working inside the system, just doing their jobs and trying to do their best. Many of those people, as you and I both know, have been punished for doing the right thing. But in terms of leadership, absolutely. And that's why I called not only for those Phoenix executives who are on administrative leave to be fired, but I've also said, look, they need to give back their bonuses, they need to resign, and they need to return the pay that they've gotten while they've been on administrative leave. Because they've basically been on a paid vacation at home while veterans are suffering. And they should just give all that money back. And then not only should they be fired, but criminal prosecution has got to happen. This is outrageous.
I did everything but cheer in the background as you were talking. I let you go with that. And when we learned the numbers, by the way, the Phoenix VA alone, there were $10 million in bonuses handed out in the last 3 years. Now, to be fair, not all of it went to administrators. Some of it was for actual physicians and different people. But a large portion of it went to these very people who, according not only to whistleblowers, but to the Inspector General's own report, have been actively engaged in, it's fraud at best, it's criminal behavior at worst.
Oh, it's absolutely outrageous. And I think criminal charges, as you know, I've been calling for criminal charges for weeks. And, we've got evidence just in the newspapers and on TV that I think warrants not just a criminal investigation, but actual prosecution. I'm sure you saw even more information came out this morning. A social worker was discriminated against and demoted when she wrote a report through the ethics department highlighting the fact that fraud was occurring in the scheduling process. And instead of addressing it, they just shunted her to the side and just kept doing what they were doing. Meanwhile, veterans were dying, and they were covering up the fact that veterans had died.
Right.
That's atrocious. Absolutely atrocious.
Sickening to most people. Pamela?
We're talking to Congresswoman Kyrsten Sinema, and I'm sure yesterday you saw the report that came out from Senator Tom Colburn of Oklahoma. It was titled Friendly Fire, Death, Delay, and Dismay at the VA. You talk about the deaths that may be associated with these waiting lists. In his report, he says over the past decade, more than 1,000 veterans may have died as a result of the VA's misconduct. A lot of other shocking allegations that have come forward in that report. What did you take away from it?
Well, I think like most Americans, I've been combing through the report and just trying to read what I could along the way. And even if a portion of those allegations are true, then I think what we can learn from that is that the systemic abuse and the systemic culture of non-accountability is even deeper than expected. You guys, it almost feels like every single day the news is just getting worse and worse. And I think what we've got to do for a second here is just thank those whistleblowers who were courageous enough to start, raising the alarm bell. It all started in Phoenix, but as we can see, this is happening all across the nation. So I'm grateful to those folks who are willing to sound the alarm bell, even at personal risk to themselves. What I'm hoping is that more folks across the country who are working at these VA hospitals will stand up and do the right and courageous thing, which is to raise their own alarm bells about what's happening at their VA facilities. Because if it's happening in Phoenix, it's happening other places too.
And we know that there are about 170 other VAs that are being investigated right now, different facilities. But you had brought up the criminal charges and that you believe that there have been crimes that have been committed. But a lot of people that I've spoken to, either the veterans themselves that have gone and been delayed and have had personal experiences, they have very little faith that there are actually going to be criminal charges brought forth.
Now, unfortunately, as a member of Congress, I don't actually have the power to bring those charges myself.
I
but I can promise you this. I'm going to be on this like a dog on a bone until we get a solution here. Because, you guys know this. I come from a family of service members. My grandpa, my stepdad, my big brother, my little brother, all vets. In fact, my little brother's still active duty today. And to think that anyone in my family could have been treated like this, I think about other family members and other people who've lost loved ones while waiting for care. I'm angry just thinking about the possibility of it happening to my family. I can't even imagine the pain that people are feeling when it did happen to a member of their family. And we have got to continue fighting until and frankly, we have to get answers. We have to get solutions. We have to get accountability for
I think, and we're speaking with Kyrsten Sinema, the Congresswoman from the 9th District here in Arizona. You're saying so many of the things I think that so many people are feeling deep down, and the rage. And I believe that you're genuinely upset, by the way.
I am. I'm very upset.
Like a lot of other people who it's like the death of 1,000 cuts. That every day and every week we hear more and more stories that make us look and say, well, what in God's green earth has been going on inside this VA? And to be fair, this is not necessarily a new problem. Everything we see, including some of the information coming out in the IG's report, is that this has been going on for a while, and I think it's frustrating that a lot of people think it took it becoming so big and so outrageous for people to finally pay attention.
Well, and that's how many unfortunate scandals happen in the government. A lot of people don't really feel like they've got a lot of faith right now because you don't see government agencies as responsive and accountable and transparent. And as you guys know, I've only been in Congress for a short time, but I didn't come here to sit around. I came because this is exactly why you come to Congress, so that you can be part of this voice that is just hammering until we get answers and responses. And, I told my team a couple weeks ago, we're working really hard. We're working overtime. We're working so hard to help every single vet that comes to us. We're going out into the community to find vets, get them service in the community, do whatever they need to get done. And I said, look, staff, we're going to work overtime until this is fixed because this is why we came here. Yeah. Like, not everyone who's feeling frustrated feels like they have a voice, but that's my job. My job is to be that voice. And that's why we're going to keep fighting here in Congress until not only do we resolve this problem, but we change the culture so that this isn't acceptable in the future.
Well, we certainly can agree and echo on that, and I think you're speaking for so many people. And a true, by the way, bipartisan outrage on this. This is hardly a left versus right issue. This is a right versus wrong issue, and we appreciate you fighting the good fight.
Well, yesterday, as I'm sure you saw, I did a joint letter with Congressman Salmon, who's just to the east of my district, and we said, look, you've got to take action on these whistleblowers. You've got to protect these guys. You can't have a culture of ignoring them. And today, we're releasing a letter that I spearheaded with every single member of the Arizona delegation. We're going to be asking the Phoenix VA to do bi-monthly briefings with all of our staffers to give updates on the progress of solving this problem, because we are not going to sit around and let the grass grow. We want every 2 weeks, we want an in-person report that tells us what they've been doing to correct the problem, so there's accountability and transparency, and we're going to turn around and share that information with the public so that this never happens again.
Congresswoman Sinema, thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we'll stay on top of this, as you will as well. This is not going away, and the people at the VA responsible for it need to know that this is not, we're not going to get tired of this. Thank you for your time this morning.